They wheeled her away with lights blurring past the ambulance doors. I followed like a ghost. A surgeon grabbed my arm, pulled me into a corridor with my granddaughter's crayon drawing still stuck to my shirt, and hissed, "Take the children and leave the city, now." He pressed an envelope into my hand. I tucked it in my coat like a hot coal. If you were me, a man who'd buried his wife and built his life around his daughter, what would you do? Run? Fight? Or hand your grandchildren to a stranger and vanish? I promise you this, what was inside that envelope turned a family celebration into a war, and it would make me question every face that smiled at our table. Before we dive deeper, if you love true-to-life drama and justice served, hit like and subscribe. It helps stories like mine get heard. My name is Elias Monroe. 10 years ago, if you'd asked me what mattered most, I'd have said my daughter Clara without blinking. She was the reason I dragged myself to the factory every morning. The reason I kept breathing after Marielle died. Clara grew up knowing love meant showing up no matter what. I taught her that family is your safe place when the world turns cruel. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family, enjoy the story. I never imagined the man she married would turn that safety into poison. The surgeon's face was pale under those hospital lights. His scrubs had small dots of blood near the collar. He kept glancing over his shoulder like someone might catch us talking. "Mr. Monroe," he said, voice barely above a whisper, "your daughter's heart stopped twice on the way here. We're doing everything we can, but—" He stopped, swallowed hard. "There's something wrong with her medication history. Things that don't add up." My chest felt tight. "What do you mean, don't add up?" He pressed the envelope harder into my palm. "Read this when you're alone. And please, get those children somewhere safe tonight. Don't tell anyone where you're going." "Who did this?" My voice cracked. "Was it? Your son-in-law did something terrible." He said it flat, like stating a fact, like saying the sky is blue. Then he turned and walked back through those swinging doors, leaving me standing there with an envelope that felt like it weighed 100 pounds. I drove Rosie and Caleb back to my house in a fog. Rosie kept asking why Mommy wasn't coming home. Caleb, only 5, just stared out the window sucking his thumb, something he hadn't done in months. I told them Mommy needed to rest at the hospital, that the doctors were making her better, that everything would be okay. I'm not sure they believed me. I'm not sure I believed myself. After I tucked them into bed, Rosie clutching her stuffed rabbit, Caleb wrapped in his dinosaur blanket, I sat at my kitchen table and opened that envelope. Inside were papers. Bank statements with numbers that made my head spin. Transfers to accounts I'd never heard of. Names of companies that sounded fake. Photographs of Victor standing next to men in expensive suits outside warehouses. And then I saw it. Medical forms with Clara's name at the top. Prescription changes. Medication adjustments. All signed by Victor Harland. My hands started shaking. I flipped through more pages. There were notes in handwriting I didn't recognize. Codes. Dates that matched the nights Victor said he was working late. Everything pointed to the same ugly truth. My son-in-law wasn't just a liar. He was something darker. Something dangerous. And he'd been slowly killing my daughter. I thought back to Clara's wedding day. How I'd stood up and given that toast, choking on tears, telling everyone how proud I was. How Victor had smiled at me across the table with those perfect white teeth. How he'd shaken my hand and called me Dad. I remembered Marielle's funeral years before that. How Clara had held my hand while they lowered the casket. How she'd whispered, "We still have each other, Daddy." Always. She was 19 then. Just a kid trying to hold her broken father together. Now here I was, decades later, holding proof that the man she trusted most had turned her into a target. I spread the documents across the table. There was a photo near the bottom of the stack that made my blood run cold. It showed Clara in her nurse scrubs, standing in a hospital hallway. The timestamp said 11:47 p.m. She was talking to someone just out of frame, but I could see the edge of a man's shoulder. The expensive fabric of a suit jacket I recognized. Victor. But Clara had told me she worked day shifts. She was always home by dinner. So what was she doing at the hospital near midnight? I stared at that photo until my eyes burned. Then I noticed something else. In the background, barely visible, was a medical cart. On top of it sat a small plastic bag with pills inside. The label was too blurry to read, but something about it felt wrong. My phone buzzed on the table. Unknown number. I picked it up with trembling fingers. The screen showed 3 words in plain text. "We know." That's when I realized, this wasn't just about Clara anymore. This was about all of us. And whoever sent that message wanted me to know they were watching. I sat there in the dark, listening to my grandchildren breathe in the next room, and understood that the surgeon was right. We needed to disappear. But first, I needed to know exactly what I was running from and who I was running toward. If you're hanging on to every twist, like and subscribe, I'll keep the story coming. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Clara's face on that hospital gurney. Saw the surgeon's warning look. Saw those 3 words glowing on my phone screen. We know. By dawn, I had every document from that envelope spread across my kitchen floor. Bank transfers dating back 2 years. Shell companies with names like Meridian Holdings and Coastal Solutions LLC. Offshore accounts in places I couldn't even pronounce. And buried in the middle of it all, Clara's medical records, altered and signed by Victor. The medications didn't match what her doctor prescribed. Someone had changed them. Swapped them. And according to the dates, it started right after she began asking Victor about his late nights. My daughter wasn't just betrayed. She was being erased. I called my old friend Danny from the factory. He'd retired 3 years back but still knew his way around numbers. Danny, I said when he picked up, I need help reading some financial documents. Elias? It's 6 in the morning. I know. This can't wait. There was a pause. Then, come over. Bring coffee. Danny lived 20 minutes away in a small house that smelled like cigarettes and old newspapers. I brought the documents in a grocery bag and laid them on his dining table while he poured us both coffee that could strip paint. He put on his reading glasses and started flipping through pages. His face changed with every sheet. Elias, he said slowly, where did you get these? Does it matter? Yeah, it does. Because whoever owns these accounts is moving serious money. And I mean serious. He tapped one statement. This transfer here? $200,000. Moved from a hospital supply account into this shell company, then bounced to 3 other accounts before landing offshore. Hospital supply? Yeah. See this code? That's a vendor number for medical shipments. Equipment. Medications. He looked at me over his glasses. Someone skimming from hospital orders and covering their tracks. My stomach turned. And these medical forms? Danny picked them up. Squinted. I'm no doctor, but these look altered. See here? The dosage was changed. And this signature, he held it up to the light. This doesn't match the doctor's name printed below it. It's my son-in-law's signature. Danny set the paper down. Elias, what the hell is going on? I told him. All of it. The surgeon. The envelope. Clara's collapse. The message on my phone. When I finished, Danny sat back and rubbed his face. You need to go to the police. With what? These documents could be fake for all I know. I need more. Then you need to be careful. Real careful. He tapped the bank statements. People who move this kind of money don't play around. They've got reach. Connections. I thought about Victor's smile at the dinner table. The way he always seemed to know things before I said them. The way Clara's questions always got dismissed. I'm already in this, I said. Now I just need to know how deep it goes. Danny nodded slowly. All right. Let me make some calls. I know a guy who does forensic accounting. Might be able to trace these transfers. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. He handed me back the documents. And Elias, watch your back. I drove home thinking about the first time I met Victor. It was at Clara's hospital. She'd invited me to meet her for lunch and he'd shown up with flowers and that megawatt smile. He talked about his work in medical consulting, about helping hospitals streamline their supply chains, about making healthcare more efficient. I thought he sounded impressive, smart, ambitious. Now I realized he'd been telling me exactly what he did, just wrapped in language that sounded legitimate. When I pulled into my driveway, everything looked normal. Rosie's bike on the porch. Caleb's toy trucks scattered in the yard. But something felt wrong. I walked to the front door and stopped. It was unlocked. I always locked it. Always. My heart started hammering. I pushed the door open slowly and stepped inside. Rosie? Caleb? Silence. I moved through the house, checking every room. The kids were still asleep in the guest bedroom, thank God. Nothing looked disturbed. Nothing missing. But on my kitchen counter, next to where I'd left the envelope, sat a small cardboard box. I hadn't put it there. The box was plain brown, addressed to Victor Harland. But someone had crossed out his address and written mine in red marker. There was a label on top. Caution, toxic materials. My hands shook as I picked it up. It was light. Almost empty. And it was humming. Not loud. Just a soft, mechanical buzz coming from inside. Like something battery-powered. Like something on a timer. I set it down carefully and backed away. Then I grabbed my phone and took a picture of it. Sent it to Danny with one message: someone delivered this to my house. What do I do? 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. Then appeared again. Finally, don't open it. Don't touch it. Call the police right now. But before I could dial, my phone buzzed with a new text. Unknown number again. This time it wasn't words. It was a photo of Clara in her hospital bed, asleep. And in the corner of the image, barely visible in the shadows, a figure standing by her door, watching her. I didn't call the police. Not yet. Because the photo told me everything I needed to know. Whoever sent it had access to Clara's hospital room. They could reach her whenever they wanted. I grabbed Rosie and Caleb, still half asleep, and bundled them into my car. Told them we were going on an adventure. A surprise trip to see Mommy. Rosie rubbed her eyes and asked why we had to leave so early. I said sometimes adventures start before the sun comes up. The drive to the hospital felt endless. Every car behind me looked suspicious. Every stoplight took too long. I kept checking my rearview mirror, expecting to see that black sedan from Danny's warning. But the roads were quiet. When we got to Clara's floor, I made the kids wait in the family lounge with a nurse I trusted. Then I walked to her room with my jaw clenched and my fists ready. Victor was already there. He sat beside Clara's bed holding her hand, looking every bit the devoted husband. His suit was pressed. His hair was perfect. When he saw me, he smiled. Elias, didn't expect you this early. I stepped inside and closed the door. Kept my voice low so the kids wouldn't hear. We need to talk. Of course. He stood up, still smiling. How are my children? They're safe. Something flickered behind his eyes. Safe? What's that supposed to mean? It means I know. He tilted his head. Know what? I stepped closer. Close enough to smell his expensive cologne. I know about the accounts, the shell companies, the altered medications. I watched his face carefully. And I know someone's been in my house. For just a second, less than a heartbeat, his mask slipped. His smile tightened. His eyes went cold. Then he laughed, soft and smooth, like we were sharing a private joke. Elias, you're upset. I understand. Clara's condition has been hard on all of us. But making accusations. I'm not making anything up. I pulled out my phone. Showed him the photo of the box. This showed up at my door this morning. Addressed to you. He glanced at it. Shrugged. Probably a delivery mistake. It was humming. Then call the post office. He leaned in close, dropping his voice to barely a whisper. You don't know what you've gotten yourself into, old man. Stay out of this or you'll lose more than just your daughter. My hands itched to grab him, to wipe that smug look off his face. But Clara stirred in the bed behind us and I remembered where I was, what I was fighting for. I'm not going anywhere, I said. Victor smiled wider. Patted my shoulder like I was a child who'd said something cute. We'll see. Then he walked out, whistling softly. I stood there shaking with rage until a doctor came in. She looked tired, like she'd been up all night. Mr. Monroe? Your daughter's awake. She's been asking for you. Clara's eyes were open when I reached her bedside. Weak but focused. Dad? She whispered. I'm here, sweetheart. She grabbed my hand with surprising strength. Something's wrong. The pills they gave me last night, they tasted different. And Victor. She trailed off, tears sliding down her cheeks. He keeps telling me I'm confused, that I'm imagining things. But I'm not, Dad. I'm not crazy. I know you're not. I squeezed her hand. I believe you. She started crying harder. I should have listened to you. About him. About everything. Hey, none of this is your fault. I pulled a chair close. But I need you to trust me now. Can you do that? She nodded. I'm going to keep you and the kids safe. No matter what it takes. I leaned closer. But I need you to be careful. Don't take any medication unless you see the nurse open it in front of you. Don't eat or drink anything Victor brings. And if anything feels wrong, anything at all, you call me immediately. Okay. Her voice was small. Scared. I promise you, Clara. This ends soon. I stayed with her until visiting hours ended. Then I collected the kids and drove them back to my house. The box was gone from the kitchen counter. Just gone. Like it had never been there. But on the table where it had been sitting, someone had left a single playing card. The King of Spades. And written on the back in red ink, check. I put the kids to bed early. Read them 2 stories instead of 1. Made sure every window was locked and every door was bolted. Then I sat in the dark living room with Danny's number pulled up on my phone, ready to call. That's when I saw it. Through the window. A car parked across the street with its lights off. Just sitting there. Idling. I watched it for 10 minutes. 15. It didn't move. Then my phone buzzed. Another photo. This time it showed Rosie's bedroom window. From outside. The curtains were drawn, but I could see the faint glow of her night light through the fabric. And written below the image, "Good night." I ran to her room. Threw open the door. She was there asleep safe. But when I looked out her window I saw it. Pressed into the mud below the windowsill. Fresh. Dark. A single boot print. Someone had been standing right there. Watching my granddaughter sleep. I backed away from the window, my heart slamming against my ribs. Pulled out my phone and took a picture of the print. Then I looked at the mud itself, thick, black, and wet. The kind that only came from one place in this city. The docks. That's when I heard it. A soft scrape. Like something sliding under the front door. I crept down the hallway, every muscle tense. On the floor by the entrance lay a Polaroid photo, face down. I picked it up with shaking hands. It showed Clara. In her hospital bed. Asleep with an 4 line in her arm. But the timestamp said it was taken 3 hours ago, long after I'd left the hospital. Long after visiting hours ended. And in the corner, just barely visible in the shadow by the door, stood a figure. Tall. Watching. I flipped the photo over. On the back, in the same black mud from the docks, someone had smeared a message. "We see everything." Morning came too fast. I didn't sleep. Just sat by the front window with a baseball bat across my lap, watching that car across the street until it finally drove away around 4 a.m. As soon as the sun was up, I called Marco. Marco Delgado was a guy I'd worked with back in my factory days. Tough as nails, smart, and most importantly, he didn't ask unnecessary questions. He'd also spent 10 years working security before the factory job, which meant he knew how to handle situations that regular people didn't. "Elias." His voice was rough with sleep. "What's wrong?" "I need a favor." "Name it." "I need you to help me figure out who's watching my house." Silence. Then, "Are you in danger?" "My whole family is." "I'll be there in 20. Marco showed up with coffee and a camera with a telephoto lens. We sat in his truck parked 2 streets over and went through everything. The envelope. The documents. The photos. The muddy boot print. His face got darker with every detail. "This is bigger than you thought," he said finally. "These aren't amateurs. They've got resources. Reach." "I know. You need to go to the cops." "And say what?" "That my son-in-law might be involved in something illegal, but I don't have proof? That someone's watching my house, but they haven't actually done anything yet." I shook my head. "They'll tell me to install a security system and call me paranoid." Marco drummed his fingers on the steering wheel. "Then we get proof." "How?" He pulled out his phone and opened a map. Zoomed in on the waterfront district. "You said the mud was from the docks, right? That's a specific type of soil. Only found in 3 locations in this city." He marked them on the map. "And according to these documents, one of those locations matches this address." He tapped the screen. "Warehouse owned by a shipping company called Meridian Holdings." That was in the envelope. "Exactly." Marco started the truck. "So let's go see what Meridian Holdings is really shipping." We drove to the docks as the sun climbed higher. The area was industrial and mostly abandoned. Old warehouses with broken windows, rusted containers stacked like forgotten toys, and the constant smell of salt and rot. Warehouse 7 stood at the end of a cracked road. It looked like every other building, gray, weathered, unremarkable. But there were fresh tire tracks in the mud outside. Recent deliveries. We parked a block away and approached on foot. Marco had his camera ready. I had my phone recording video. The main entrance was padlocked, but there was a side door with a broken latch. We slipped inside. The warehouse was huge. Dark. Our footsteps echoed on concrete. And stacked along the far wall were wooden crates, dozens of them, all stamped with the same logo, Meridian Medical Supply. "Hospital supplier," Marco whispered. We moved closer. He pried open one of the crates with a crowbar he'd brought. Inside were boxes of gauze, surgical gloves, basic medical equipment. Nothing unusual. But underneath, hidden beneath a false bottom, were sealed plastic drums. No labels. No markings. What the hell? Marco lifted one out. It was heavy. He shook it gently. Liquid sloshed inside. I took photos from every angle. Then Marco noticed something else. A clipboard hanging on the wall with shipping manifests. He grabbed it and started flipping through pages. "Look at this." He showed me. These manifests show standard hospital supplies being delivered, but the weight doesn't match. They're reporting shipments that weigh 200 pounds, but the actual loads are twice that. They're hiding something inside the shipments and using hospital orders as cover. He kept flipping, stopped on one page. His face went pale. Elias, look at the signature at the bottom. I looked. Victor Harland. My chest tightened. He's not just involved. He's running it. And using Clara's hospital credentials to move these shipments without raising flags. Marco took photos of everything. This is trafficking. Could be drugs. Could be black market medication. Either way, it's felony-level stuff. I thought about Clara lying in that hospital bed. About how Victor had slowly poisoned her to keep her quiet. About my grandchildren sleeping in their beds while men watched from the shadows. Rage burned through me hot and sharp. We need to get this to someone who can act on it, I said. Agreed. I know a forensic accountant who does work for the DA's office. If we can. The warehouse door slammed open. We both froze. Footsteps. Multiple sets. Coming toward us. Move, Marco hissed. We ducked behind a stack of crates just as 3 men entered. They wore work clothes and carried flashlights. One of them was talking on a phone. Yeah, we're checking it now, he said. No, nothing looks disturbed. Wait. He stopped. Shined his light on the open crate we'd been examining. Someone was here. My heart hammered. Search the building, another voice said. Now. Marco and I pressed ourselves deeper into the shadows. The footsteps spread out. Lights swept across the walls. We were trapped. Then my phone buzzed. Loud. Too loud. All 3 flashlights snapped in our direction. There, someone shouted. We ran. Bursting through the side door, we sprinted toward Marco's truck. Behind us, shouts erupted. An engine roared to life. We dove into the truck and Marco floored it, tires screaming on asphalt. A black sedan pulled out behind us. They're following, I said. I see them. Marco took a hard left, then another right, weaving through side streets. The sedan stayed close, aggressive, ramming distance. We raced toward the highway. My phone kept buzzing. I finally looked at it. Danny. Answer it. Marco said. I did. Danny, not a good time. Elias, listen to me. His voice was frantic. The forensic accountant I told you about? He agreed to look at your documents. He called me an hour ago. And he's dead. Someone shot him. In his office. The police are calling it a robbery, but Elias, he just started tracing those offshore accounts. My blood went cold. There's more, Danny continued. Before he died, he sent me a file. One name came up connected to all the transfers. Not just Victor. Who? Patricia Morrison. She's listed as the registered owner of Meridian Holdings. Danny paused. Elias, that's Victor's mother. The world tilted. Then through the phone I heard it. A sharp crack. Glass breaking. Danny's voice cut off mid-gasp. Danny? I shouted. Danny? The line went dead. Marco glanced at me, eyes wide. What happened? My hands shook so hard I nearly dropped the phone. Someone just... Another crack. Louder. Closer. I looked back. The sedan had pulled alongside us. A window rolled down, and I saw the barrel of a gun. Get down? Marco yanked the wheel hard right, and we skidded into an alley barely wide enough for the truck. Metal scraped against brick. The sedan couldn't follow, too wide. But I heard it screeching to a stop behind us, doors slamming. We burst out the other end of the alley and Marco punched the gas, running 2 red lights before merging into downtown traffic. My ears were ringing. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Is Danny? Marco started. I don't know. I tried calling back. Straight to voicemail. Tried again. Same thing. We need to get somewhere safe, Marco said. Somewhere public. The police station. No. If Victor's mother is involved, she's got connections. Money. The kind that buys people off. He took another turn. We go to the hospital. Lots of witnesses. Security cameras. They can't touch us there. Clara's there. Exactly. We keep everyone together. Figure out our next move. 20 minutes later, we pulled into the hospital parking garage. I was still trying to reach Danny. Still getting voicemail. Marco parked near the elevator. Before we go up, what's the play here? I don't know. You need to know. Because Victor's going to be up there. And when he sees us, he's going to know we found the warehouse. I thought about it. About the photos on my phone. The manifests. The proof we'd gathered. We tell Clara everything. She has a right to know what she married into. And then we get her and the kids somewhere safe while we figure out how to burn Victor's whole operation to the ground. Marco nodded slowly. All right. But Elias, be ready. Men like Victor don't go down quiet. We took the elevator to Clara's floor. The hallway was busy, nurses moving between rooms, visitors carrying flowers, doctors checking charts. Normal hospital chaos. It almost felt safe. Clara's room was at the end of the hall. The door was closed. I knocked and pushed it open. Victor was there, standing by the window. He turned when we entered and his face went cold. Elias, what are you doing here? I came to see my daughter. Clara was sitting up in bed looking better than yesterday. Color in her cheeks. Alert. But when she saw my face, she knew something was wrong. Dad. Victor stepped between us. Visiting hours don't start for another hour. You'll have to come back. I'm not going anywhere. I think you are. Victor's voice dropped. Because if you don't leave right now, I'll call security and have you removed. Marco moved beside me. Try it. Victor looked at him like he was a bug on the floor. And who are you? Someone who's seen what you're shipping through Meridian Holdings. The room went silent. Victor's mask finally cracked. The smile disappeared. His eyes turned to ice. I don't know what you think you saw. Manifest with your signature. Crates with false bottoms. Sealed drums hidden in medical supply shipments. Marco pulled out his phone. And I've got photos of all of it. Clara's voice cut through. What's he talking about, Victor? Nothing. He's lying. Am I? I moved past Victor to Clara's bedside. Pulled out my own phone. Showed her everything. The documents from the envelope. The bank transfers. The photos from the warehouse. He's been using your hospital credentials to move illegal shipments. And when you started asking questions, he changed your medications to keep you quiet. Clara stared at the screen, her face going white. No. Victor, tell me this isn't true. Victor laughed. Actually laughed. You believe him? Your paranoid father who's been trying to turn you against me since day one? I believe the evidence, she said quietly. Evidence that was probably fabricated. Victor looked at me with pure hatred. You don't understand what you're interfering with. The people I work with, they don't forgive mistakes. Is that a threat? It's a fact. He pulled out his phone. One call and your grandchildren. Don't you dare. My voice came out low. Dangerous. You go near Rosie and Caleb and I swear to God. You'll what? You're nobody, Elias. A factory worker with no power, no connections, no leverage. He turned to Clara. And you're going to tell them you're confused. That your father misunderstood. That everything's fine. Get out, Clara said. Excuse me? I said get out. Her voice rose. Strong. Get away from me. Get away from my children. I never want to see you again. Victor's face twisted. For a second I thought he might hit her. But then he smoothed his expression and smiled that terrible smile. Fine. We'll do this the hard way. He walked to the door. Stopped. Looked back at me. You made a big mistake today, old man. You and your friend here. You think you're protecting your family? He laughed softly. You just put a target on all of them. Then he was gone. Clara started crying. I held her while Marco checked the hallway to make sure Victor had actually left. Dad, what have I done? She sobbed. How did I not see? Hey, stop. This isn't on you. I pulled back to look at her. You trusted someone. That's not a crime. He's the one who betrayed that trust. The kids are safe. I promise. I glanced at Marco. But we need to move fast. Get you discharged. Get everyone somewhere Victor can't find us. Where would we even go? I know a place, Marco said from the doorway. A friend's cabin 2 hours outside the city. No paper trail. No digital footprint. We can hole up there while we figure out our next move. Clara wiped her eyes. What about the police? We'll go to them. But we need more than photos and documents. We need testimony. Witnesses. Marco looked at me. And we need to make sure your family doesn't disappear before we can make our case. I nodded. Then we leave tonight. We spent the next hour making arrangements. Marco went to gather supplies. I called the nurse and explained that Clara needed to be discharged for family reasons. She was hesitant until I quietly explained that my daughter's safety was at risk. By 5 p.m., everything was set. Clara had her discharge papers. Marco had the truck loaded. I was about to go collect the kids when my phone rang. A known number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Hello. Silence. Then a voice I didn't recognize. Mel. Colt. Mr. Monroe. You and your friend made quite the mess at our warehouse today. My blood froze. Who is this? Someone who's very disappointed in you. You were warned to stay out of this. Now we have to clean up your mistake. Pause. We have something that belongs to you. What are you? Check your messages. The line went dead. I opened my text with shaking hands. New message. Unknown sender. A photo. My house. The front door wide open. Lights on inside. And in the living room, visible through the window, no sign of Rosie or Caleb. My throat closed. I couldn't breathe. The second message arrived. One move and the children go. Wait for instructions. Asterisk asterisk. I dropped the phone. Marco grabbed my shoulders. Elias. What is it? I couldn't speak. Just showed him the screen. Clara saw it too. Her scream echoed down the hospital hallway. And I realized with horrible, crushing certainty that while we'd been planning our escape, Victor had been planning his revenge. My grandchildren were gone. I couldn't feel my legs. The hospital floor tilted under me. Clara's scream kept echoing, but it sounded far away, like I was underwater. Marco shook me. Elias, stay with me. We can still fix this. They have my grandchildren. My voice didn't sound like mine. They have Rosie and Caleb. I know. But falling apart won't help them. He grabbed my phone. Read the message again. They said wait for instructions. That means they want something. Which means the kids are leveraged, not targets. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Because if Victor wanted to hurt them, he would have already sent proof. Marco's voice was steady. Come. He wants you scared. Compliant. That's how men like him operate. Clara pulled herself together first. Wiped her tears. Her voice came out hard. What do? We don't panic. We don't make emotional decisions. Marco looked at both of us. And we definitely don't wait around for Victor to dictate terms. But the message said. I don't care what it said. We act now or we lose control completely. He turned to me. Where would Victor take them? Does he have property outside the city? A place he'd feel safe. I forced my brain to work through the fog of terror. He has a lake house. 2 hours north. He took Clara there before they had kids. You know the address? I drove them once. I remember the road. Good. That's where we start. Marco headed for the door. Come on. Wait. Clara tried to get out of bed. I'm coming with you. No. You just got discharged. You're still weak. Those are my children. Her eyes blazed. I don't care if I have to crawl. I'm coming. Marco looked at me. I nodded. She's coming. We moved fast. Marco grabbed a wheelchair for Clara even though she insisted she could walk. We took the service elevator to avoid cameras and questions. Made it to the parking garage without anyone stopping us. That's when I saw it. On the windshield of Marco's truck, a small envelope. Plain white. My name written across the front. Don't touch it, Marco said. He pulled out a pen and carefully lifted one corner. Inside was a single photograph. Rosie and Caleb. Sitting on a leather couch I recognized from Victor's lake house. They looked scared but unharmed. Rosie was holding Caleb's hand. Behind them, just visible in the reflection of a window, a man's silhouette. And written on the back of the photo in red ink, you have 6 hours. Come alone or they disappear forever. Asterisk asterisk. Clara made a sound like something breaking inside her. We're not waiting 6 hours, Marco said. He got us into the truck and drove. The road north was empty. Dark. Every mile felt like an eternity. Clara sat in the back seat staring at the photo, her lips moving in what might have been prayer. My phone buzzed. Another message. This time with an address. Not Victor's lake house but somewhere else. A location I didn't recognize. And beneath it, change of plans. You have 4 hours now. Tick-tock. Asterisk asterisk. They're moving them, I said. Or splitting our attention. Marco checked his mirrors. Could be a trap. Send us to one location while they move the kids somewhere else. Then what do? We split up. You and Clara go to the lake house. I'll check this other address. Alone? That's suicide. Maybe. But it's the only way to cover both bases. He pulled over and programmed the lake house coordinates into my phone. You remember how to get there? Yeah. Take my truck. I'll grab a cab to this other location. He looked at Clara. If you find the kids, you grab them and run. Don't wait for me. Don't try to be a hero. Just get them safe. What about you? She asked. Marco smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. I'll be fine. I've handled worse. He got out, flagged down a passing taxi. Before he got in, he leaned through my window. Elias, whatever happens, don't let Victor see you break. That's what he wants. Then he was gone. I drove. Clara gave me directions when my memory failed. The lake house was set back from the main road, hidden by trees. No lights on inside. Too quiet. Maybe they're not here, Clara whispered. Only one way to find out. We approached on foot. The front door was unlocked. I pushed it open slowly, every nerve screaming this was wrong. The house was empty. Furniture covered in sheets. No signs of recent activity. Dad, look. Clara pointed to the coffee table. Another envelope. I opened it. Inside was a map with a location circled in red, an old warehouse district near the docks. And a note, last chance. Come now. Alone. Or the kids take a swim. Asterisk asterisk. My hands crushed the paper. This is a game to him. Then let's end it. Clara's voice shook, but her jaw was set. We go to the docks. We get our children back. We ran to the truck. I drove faster than I should have, running stop signs, pushing the engine until it screamed. The docks appeared through the darkness, empty shipping containers stacked like monuments to abandonment. The address led us to a warehouse on the water's edge. Rusted metal. Broken windows. A single light burning inside. I parked a block away. You stay here. Absolutely not. Clara. They're my kids, Dad. I'm not hiding. She opened her door. We do this together. We approached the warehouse from opposite sides. I could hear water lapping against the pilings. Smell oil and dead fish. My heart hammered so hard I thought it might burst. The door was ajar. I pushed it open. Inside was a single room lit by a work light hanging from the ceiling. And in the center, tied to chairs, Rosie and Caleb. Mommy? Rosie screamed when she saw Clara. We ran to them. Started untying the ropes. They were tight. Professional. My fingers fumbled with the knots. Where is he? I asked. Where's Victor? He left, Caleb sobbed. He said you'd come. He said. That's when I heard it. A soft mechanical beep. I looked down. Under Rosie's chair. A small black box with a blinking red light. And a timer. Counting down from 60 seconds. Run. I grabbed Rosie, Clara grabbed Caleb, and we bolted for the door. 50 seconds. We hit the parking lot running. Clara stumbled. I pulled her up. 40 seconds. The truck. I shouted. We threw the kids in the back seat. I turned the key. The engine coughed. Died. 30 seconds. Come on. I tried again. The engine turned over. Caught. 20 seconds. I floored it. The truck shot forward just as the warehouse exploded behind us. The blast wave hit like a physical force, shattering the rear window. Clara screamed. The kids were crying. But we were alive. I drove until my hands stopped shaking. Pulled into a 24-hour gas station and checked everyone over. Cuts from the glass. Bruises. But nothing broken. Clara held her children and sobbed. It's okay. You're safe. You're safe. My phone rang. Marco. Elias? You okay? I heard an explosion from here. We're fine. We got the kids. Thank God. He sounded relieved. Exhausted. But we've got a bigger problem. What? That other address? It was a setup. Led me straight to a police precinct. He paused. Victor filed a restraining order against you. Claims you're unstable. Dangerous to the children. There's a warrant out for your arrest. The world stopped. That's impossible. He's the one who... I know. But he's got documentation. Witness statements. Even a hospital psych eval that claims Clara's been expressing concerns about your mental state. I looked at Clara. She shook her head frantically. I never said that. I never... He forged it, Marco said. Just like he forged everything else. And now the police are looking for you. If they find you with the kids, they'll arrest me. I felt the trap closing. And give the children to Victor. Exactly. Clara grabbed my arm. We can't let that happen. We won't. But I had no idea how to stop it. Marco's voice came through again. There's one option. We need someone with more power than Victor. Someone who can't be bought. Who? That investigative reporter I mentioned. Sarah Chin. She's done exposés on corruption before. If we can get her the evidence. A police car pulled into the gas station. My blood went cold. Marco, I have to go. Wait. I hung up. Watched the cop get out and walk toward the convenience store. He hadn't seen us yet. Dad. Clara's voice was small. What do we do? I looked at my grandchildren in the back seat, at my daughter beside me, at the cop now heading back to his car with coffee, and I made a choice. We fight back. But first, I pulled out my phone and opened the photos from the warehouse. The manifests, the bank transfers, everything. We make sure Victor can't erase the truth. I uploaded every file to a cloud drive, sent the link to 3 different email addresses. Then I looked at Clara. No matter what happens next, that evidence survives. Even if we don't. Don't talk like that. I have to. The cop's car started moving, coming our way, because Victor just made this war. And wars have casualties. The police car rolled past, kept going. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. But my phone buzzed one more time. Unknown number. A video file. I opened it. The screen showed a hospital corridor. Empty. Dark. And then a figure appeared, walking toward a door. Clara's door. The timestamp was from tonight. 1 hour ago. The figure pushed the door open, stepped inside, and the video ended with a single message. Check your daughter's hospital room. We left you a present. Drive, Clara said. Her voice was ice. Drive to the hospital right now. We can't. If the police are looking for me, I don't care. She turned in her seat. Someone was in my room. If they left something, evidence, a bomb, I don't know, but we need to see it. She was right. I knew she was right. But every instinct screamed this was another trap. I drove anyway. The hospital parking lot was half empty when we arrived. I left the kids in the truck with Clara while I went inside. Told them to drive away if anything went wrong. Clara didn't argue. The elevator ride to her floor felt endless. When the doors opened, everything looked normal. Nurses at their station. Quiet hallways. Nothing suspicious. Clara's room was at the end. The door was closed. I pushed it open carefully. The room looked untouched. Bed made. Machines off. But on the pillow, a manila folder. I picked it up with shaking hands and opened it. Inside were documents, legal papers, and photographs. The first photo showed Patricia Morrison, Victor's mother, shaking hands with a hospital administrator I recognized, Dr. Raymond Kemp, head of the supply department. The second showed bank transfers between Morrison's accounts and an offshore company registered to Kemp. The third was a signed contract, an agreement to use hospital supply orders as cover for illegal shipments in exchange for a percentage of profits. And the final page was a confession, handwritten, signed by someone named Michael Torres, a courier who worked for Morrison's company. He detailed everything: the drugs hidden in medical shipments, the falsified manifests, the payments made to hospital staff to look the other way. And then, at the bottom, a single paragraph that made my blood freeze. Asterisk, Patricia Morrison ordered the medication changes for Clara Harland. Dr. Kemp provided the access codes to alter the prescriptions. Victor Harland signed off on the changes but didn't know his mother planned to kill his wife. He thought it was just to keep her quiet. When he found out, he threatened to go to the police. That's when Morrison had him eliminated. Asterisk. I read it twice. 3 times. Victor wasn't the mastermind. He was a pawn. And now he was dead. My hands trembled. Victor was gone. That meant. My phone rang. I grabbed it. Clara? Dad, someone's approaching the truck. A woman. She's. The line went dead. I ran. Took the stairs instead of the elevator, flying down 4 flights until I burst into the parking garage. My lungs burned. My vision blurred. The truck was where I'd left it, but the driver's side door was open. Clara. I shouted. Over here. Her voice came from behind a concrete pillar. She stepped out, Rosie and Caleb behind her. Safe. And with her was a woman in her 50s. Blonde hair. Expensive coat. Cold eyes. Patricia Morrison. Mr. Monroe. She smiled. We need to talk. I stepped between her and my family. Get away from them. Relax. If I wanted to hurt them, they'd already be gone. She held up her hands, showing they were empty. I'm here to make a deal. I don't make deals with people who tried to kill my daughter. That was unfortunate, but necessary. Clara was asking too many questions, getting too close to operations that didn't concern her. Patricia's tone was casual, like discussing the weather. But now there's been a complication. Someone leaked documents to a reporter. Sarah Chin. My stomach dropped. You look surprised, Patricia continued. Did you think I wouldn't find out? I have people everywhere, Mr. Monroe. In the police department. In the DA's office. even in newsrooms. She stepped closer. Chin is planning to run a story tomorrow morning. Unless I stop her. You can't stop the truth. Can't I? She pulled out her phone. Showed me a photo of Sarah Chin tied to a chair in what looked like a basement. I can make this go away. The story. The evidence. All of it. And in exchange, you and your family walk away. Start over somewhere else. New names. New lives. And if I say no? Then Chin dies. Your family gets blamed. And I make sure those children end up in foster care while you rot in prison. Her smile widened. But I'm betting you're smarter than that. I looked at Clara. At Rosie clinging to her leg. At Caleb with tears on his face. You already won, I said quietly. Why not just let us go? Because loose ends bother me. And you, Mr. Monroe, are a very big loose end. Patricia checked her watch. You have 1 hour to decide. After that, Chen's body gets dumped in the river, and the police get an anonymous tip about your location. She walked away. Got into a black sedan and drove off. Clara grabbed my arm. Dad, we can't let her kill that reporter. I know. But if we go to the police, she owns them. Remember? I pulled out my phone. Looked at the cloud drive where I'd uploaded all the evidence. But maybe we don't need the police. I called Marco. He answered on the first ring. Where are you? He asked. Hospital parking garage. Patricia Morrison just threatened to kill Sarah Chen unless we back off. Damn it. Where's Chen being held? I don't know. But Morrison has a warehouse on the east side. Could be there. I'll check it out. Marco, wait. She's got people everywhere. If you go alone. I won't be alone. His voice hardened. I've got friends too. Some of them owe me favors. Big ones. What kind of friends? The kind who don't like dirty cops and corrupt hospital administrators. He paused. Trust me, Elias. I've got this. The line went dead. Clara looked at me. What do we do now? We expose her. Every document, every photo, every piece of evidence, we put it online. Social media. Forums. Everywhere. I started uploading files to Twitter, Facebook, Reddit. She can control traditional media, but she can't control the internet. For the next 40 minutes we worked. Clara used her phone. I used mine. We posted links to the cloud drive on every platform we could find. Tagged journalists, activists, anyone with a following. Within 20 minutes, the story was spreading. Shares, retweets, comments pouring in faster than Morrison could ever contain. Then my phone rang. Patricia Morrison. What did you do? Her voice was pure venom. What I should have done from the start. Told the truth. You stupid old man. Do you have any idea what you've just done? Yeah. I ended you. You ended yourself. She was screaming now. The reporter's dead. Her blood is on your hands. And your family is safe. Because the whole world is watching now. I looked at Clara. She nodded. You can't make us disappear. Not anymore. Silence. Then, this isn't over. Yeah, it is. I hung up. 20 minutes later, Marco called back. We got her. Chen's alive. Scared but alive. And we've got Morrison's men in custody. Morrison. In the wind. But with everything you posted, she won't get far. Police might be dirty, but the FBI isn't. They're already opening an investigation. I sagged against the truck. It's over? Almost. There's one more thing. Marco's voice got quiet. The confession you found? The one about Victor being eliminated. Yeah. We found his body an hour ago. In the trunk of his car at the airport. Looks like he was trying to run. His mother got to him first. I thought about Victor. About the man who'd smiled at our dinner table. Who'd held my daughter's hand at their wedding. Who'd become a monster without me noticing. Good, I said. And I meant it. But that night, lying in a hotel room with my family safe in the next bed, I couldn't sleep. Because I kept thinking about the confession. About one line I hadn't told Clara. The line that said, Raymond Kemp was assisted by Dr. Marielle Monroe's former colleague. She knew about the supply chain fraud before she died. That's why they killed her too. My wife. Marielle. She hadn't died from illness. She'd been murdered. And I'd never known. The envelope had given me justice for Clara. But it opened a wound I didn't know existed. And Patricia Morrison, wherever she was hiding, knew that too. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. One last message. Your wife knew too much. Just like you do now. Sleep well, Elias. I didn't tell Clara about the message. Didn't tell her what I'd learned about her mother. Some truths are too heavy to carry, and my daughter had carried enough. Morning came gray and cold. The hotel room felt smaller than it was. Rosie and Caleb were asleep, tangled together under the blankets. Clara sat by the window watching the sun rise. "We can't stay here," she said without turning around. "I know. Morrison's still out there. And now she knows we won't stop. So what do we do?" I asked. "We finish this." Clara looked at me then. Her eyes were red from crying, but her jaw was set. "We find her. We make sure she faces every crime she committed. For me. For the kids. For," her voice broke, "for Mom." She knew. Somehow she'd figured it out. "Clara, don't. I read that confession a dozen times last night while you were asleep. I'm not stupid, Dad." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "My mother was murdered. And Morrison got away with it for 10 years. We don't know that for sure." "Yes, we do." She wiped her face roughly. "So we're going to find proof. And then we're going to bury her with it." My phone rang. "Marco, turn on the news," he said. No greeting. I grabbed the remote. Flipped to a local channel. Breaking news banner across the screen. Patricia Morrison's face filled the display. The anchor's voice was grim. Asterisk, wanted in connection with multiple charges including conspiracy, drug trafficking, and now murder. FBI sources confirmed that Morrison may have fled the country. A federal warrant has been issued. Asterisk. They're hunting her, Marco said through the phone. Every airport, every border crossing. She can't hide. She's had 10 years to build escape routes, I said. She's gone. Maybe. But there's something else. Marco paused. The FBI wants to talk to you. They found something in Morrison's files. A storage unit registered under a fake name. Inside were documents going back 15 years, including medical records for Marielle Monroe. The room spun. What did they find? Proof that your wife's medication was tampered with. Same method Morrison used on Clara. Only this time she made it look like natural causes. His voice got softer. I'm sorry, Elias. But at least now you know. Yeah. My voice sounded hollow. Now I know. The FBI agent wants to meet with you this afternoon. Said it's urgent. Fine. Where? He gave me an address. A federal building downtown. I wrote it down on hotel stationery with shaking hands. After I hung up, Clara came and sat beside me. Didn't say anything. Just took my hand and held it. She killed your mom, I said. And I never even suspected. How could you? You were grieving. We both were. Clara squeezed my fingers. But now we make it right. That afternoon we left the kids with a social worker Marco vouched for. Drove downtown to the federal building. Went through security and metal detectors. Got escorted to a conference room where a woman in a dark suit waited. Mr. Monroe. Ms. Harland. She stood and shook our hands. I'm Special Agent Linda Reeves. Thank you for coming. Marco said you found something, I said. We did. She opened a file folder. Inside were photocopies of medical documents. Patricia Morrison kept meticulous records. Too meticulous. She documented every payment, every transaction, she paused. Every elimination. Elimination. The word tasted like poison. Yes. Including your wife's. Reeves slid a paper across the table. This is a ledger entry from January 15th, 15 years ago. It lists Marielle Monroe as a liability due to knowledge of supply chain fraud. Below that is a payment of $50,000 to Dr. Raymond Kemp for medication adjustment. Clara made a small sound. Marielle was working as a hospital administrator at the time, Reeves continued. She discovered discrepancies in supply orders. Reported them to Dr. Kemp, her supervisor, not knowing he was part of the scheme. And he killed her for it, I said numbly. Yes. Morrison's notes indicate they considered it a clean resolution. Made it look like heart failure brought on by stress. Reeves closed the folder. I'm sorry. I know this doesn't ease your pain. But it does give us grounds to pursue murder charges. Against Morrison and Kemp, Clara said. Kemp is already in custody. We arrested him this morning. He's cooperating in exchange for a reduced sentence. Reeves folded her hands. But Morrison is still at large. And that's where you come in. Me? She's contacted you repeatedly. Sent messages. Photos. She's fixated on you, Mr. Monroe. Which means she might reach out again. Reeves leaned forward. If she does, we need you to keep her talking. Trace the location. Help us bring her in. You want me to bait her. I want you to help us get justice. For your wife. For your daughter. For everyone she's hurt. Reeves's eyes were steady. Will you help us? I looked at Clara. She nodded. Yeah, I said. I'll help. They set me up with a monitored phone. Gave me a script to follow if Morrison called. Told me to act scared but not too scared. Angry but not too angry. Keep her engaged. We went back to the hotel. Waited. Hours passed. Nothing. Then just after midnight my phone buzzed. Unknown number. My heart jumped. I signaled to Clara. Answered on speaker. Hello. Patricia Morrison's voice came through, distorted slightly. She was using a scrambler. You destroyed everything I built. Good. Do you feel proud? Righteous. She laughed. You don't even understand what you've done. That operation kept people alive. We provided medications to places that couldn't get them legally. You murdered my wife. Silence. So you found that. She didn't sound surprised. Marielle was collateral damage. Wrong place, wrong time. She shouldn't have been so nosy. Rage filled my throat. You took her from me. From Clara. From everyone who loved her. I did what was necessary. Just like I'll do what's necessary now. Her voice hardened. You think you're safe because the FBI is watching? You think your daughter and grandchildren are protected? They are. Not for long. Morrison paused. I have friends in places you can't imagine, Elias. People who owe me favors. Big favors. And I'm calling them in. You're finished? The whole world knows what you did. The world doesn't care. They'll forget in a week. Move on to the next scandal. She laughed again. But you? You'll spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder. Wondering when I'll come for what's left of your family. You're not coming for anyone. Because you're going to prison. Am I? Something changed in her voice. Check your hotel room, Elias. Right now. My blood went cold. I ran to the window and looked out at the parking lot. A figure stood by my truck. Just standing there. Watching. How did you? I told you. I have friends everywhere. Morrison's voice was poison. Now here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell the FBI you made a mistake. That you fabricated evidence. That you were grief-stricken and confused. Never. Then your grandchildren die tonight. Clara gasped. You're bluffing, I said. They're protected. Are they? The social worker you left them with, Denise, right? Sweet woman. She doesn't know the man who just knocked on her door isn't really from child services. By now he's probably inside. Probably has a gun to her head. Probably. I grabbed Clara's arm. Call Marco. Now. She dialed. Put it on speaker. It rang 3 times. Then. Marco here. The kids. I shouted. Morrison says someone's at the social worker's place. Already on it. I sent backup 30 minutes ago after we intercepted Morrison's call to her contact. He sounded calm. The kids are safe. The man at the door is in custody. And Morrison, we just traced her call. Silence on the line. Then Morrison's voice, quiet and cold. Clever. Game's over, Patricia, Marco said. FBI's en route to your location. You've got maybe 5 minutes to decide how this ends. More silence. Then the call disconnected. I stood there shaking. Clara was crying. And then my phone rang again. Agent Reeves. We got her. She was in a motel 6 miles from you. Tried to run when our team arrived, but I heard shouting in the background. She's in custody, Mr. Monroe. It's over. I sank onto the bed. It's over? It's over. Clara collapsed next to me. We held each other and cried. For Marielle. For the years stolen from us. For everything we'd lost and barely survived. But mostly we cried in relief. Because finally, after 10 years, my wife could rest. And so could we. If you're furious about what Morrison did, drop an angry emoji in the comments. Tell me what you'd do if someone hurt your family like this. 3 weeks later, I stood in a courtroom watching Patricia Morrison get escorted and wearing an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. Her blonde hair was pulled back. No makeup. No expensive clothes. She looked smaller than I remembered. Clara sat beside me holding my hand. Marco was in the row behind us. The social worker, Denise, had brought Rosie and Caleb, though they waited outside. Some things children shouldn't see. The judge was a stern woman in her 60s. She read through the charges with a voice like gravel. Patricia and Morrison, you are charged with 37 counts including conspiracy, drug trafficking, falsification of medical records, attempted murder, and murder in the first degree. The list went on. And on. Morrison stood there expressionless. Like she was listening to someone read a grocery list. When the judge finished, she asked, "How does the defendant plead?" Morrison's lawyer stood. "Not guilty, Your Honor." A murmur ran through the courtroom. "Noted." The judge looked at the prosecutor. "The state may present its case." What followed was 3 days of testimony. FBI agents laying out evidence. Bank records. Shipping manifests. The confession from Michael Torres, who testified in person about the drugs hidden in medical shipments. Dr. Raymond Kemp took the stand on day 2. He looked like he'd aged 10 years. His hands shook when he swore to tell the truth. The prosecutor asked him directly, "Did you, at Patricia Morrison's direction, alter medications prescribed to Marielle Monroe?" Kemp's voice was barely audible. "Yes." "And what was the intended result of those alterations?" To cause heart failure. Make it look natural." A woman in the gallery gasped. I felt Clara's hand tighten around mine. "And did you perform similar alterations on Clara Harlan's medications?" "Yes. On Morrison's orders." She said Clara was asking too many questions. "Getting close to our operations." The prosecutor nodded. "And Victor Harlan? What happened to him?" Kemp's face crumpled. "Morrison found out he was planning to go to the police. She had him killed. Made it look like he was running away, but he couldn't finish." "Thank you, Dr. Kemp." The prosecutor turned to the jury. "Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard testimony from multiple sources. Patricia Morrison didn't just run a criminal enterprise. She eliminated anyone who threatened her profits, including innocent people whose only crime was being in the wrong place at the wrong time. On day 3 they called me to the stand. I'd been dreading this, talking about Marielle in front of strangers, reliving the day she died. But when I sat down and looked at Morrison's cold eyes, I found my voice. "Tell us about your wife," the prosecutor said gently. "Marielle she was everything good in the world." My throat tightened. "She worked as a hospital administrator. Loved her job. Loved helping people. She was honest to a fault. If she saw something wrong, she reported it." "And did she report something wrong at the hospital where she worked?" "Yes. She found discrepancies in supply orders. Told her supervisor, Dr. Kemp." I looked at Morrison. She thought she was doing the right thing. She had no idea it would get her killed. "How did she die, Mr. Monroe?" "Heart attack. Or that's what we were told. She was only 42. Healthy. No history of heart problems." I wiped my eyes. Now I know Morrison ordered her medication changed. Poisoned her slowly until her heart gave out. The prosecutor let that sit. "Then, and years later, Morrison did the same thing to your daughter." "Yes." Clara started asking questions about her husband's business dealings. Morrison decided she was a liability, just like Marielle. But Clara survived. Barely. A surgeon noticed something was wrong. "He's the one who gave me the envelope that started all this." I met Morrison's eyes. If he hadn't said something, I'd have lost my daughter too. "Thank you, Mr. Monroe." The prosecutor turned to the jury. "Patricia Morrison is a murderer. She's calculating, ruthless, and has shown no remorse for her actions. The state asks that you hold her accountable for every life she's destroyed." Morrison's defense tried to paint her as a businesswoman who got in over her head, who trusted the wrong people, who never intended for anyone to get hurt. Nobody bought it. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. When they came back, the foreman stood. "On the charge of murder in the first degree for Marielle Monroe, guilty." Clara squeezed my hand so hard I thought bones might break. "On the charge of attempted murder of Clara Harlan, guilty." More charges. More guilty verdicts. 37 counts. 37 times the foreman said that word. Guilty. When it was over, the judge looked at Morrison. "You will be remanded to custody pending sentencing. Bail is denied." Morrison finally showed emotion. Her face twisted. "This is a mistake. I have resources. Lawyers. I'll appeal." "You'll spend the rest of your life in prison," the judge said flatly. "Bailiff, remove her." They led her away. She looked back once at me and Clara, and in her eyes I saw something that made my skin crawl. Not remorse. Not fear. Satisfaction. Like she knew something we didn't. After the trial, we stood outside the courthouse. Reporters swarmed us with cameras and microphones. Clara held my arm while Marco ran interference, pushing through the crowd. "Mr. Monroe, how do you feel about the verdict? Are you satisfied with the outcome? What would you say to other families affected by Morrison's crimes?" I stopped, turned to face them. "I'd say the truth always comes out. Might take years. Might cost everything. But it comes out." I looked at the camera. "And I'd say never ignore your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. We made it to Marco's truck. He drove us back to my house, the first time we'd been home in weeks. The grass needed cutting. Mail overflowed from the box. But it was ours. Safe. That night, Clara put the kids to bed while I sat in the kitchen going through that mail. Bills, catalogs, junk. And then, an envelope with no return address. My hands froze. I recognized that plain white paper. The same kind from before. Clara, I called. Come here. She appeared in the doorway. Saw what I was holding. No, not again. I opened it carefully. Inside was a single photograph. It showed Patricia Morrison. But not in a courtroom or prison. This was older. Maybe 10 years old. She was standing next to someone I recognized from the trial documents, Dr. Raymond Kemp. But there was a third person in the photo. Someone I'd never seen before. A woman with dark hair and a hospital badge. Written on the back, she wasn't working alone. The real architect is still out there. Her name is Dr. Elena Marsh. And she's been watching you since the beginning. Asterisk asterisk. My blood turned to ice. Clara grabbed the photo. Who is Elena Marsh? I don't know. But even as I said it, something nagged at my memory. That name. I'd heard it before. Then I remembered. The social worker. Denise. The woman we trusted with our grandchildren. Her last name was Marsh. No, Clara whispered. She'd made the same connection. No, that's impossible. Marco vetted her. The FBI cleared her. Unless someone with enough power made sure she passed every background check. My hands shook. Unless Morrison wasn't the top of the pyramid. Just another piece. I grabbed my phone. Called Marco. Elias? What's wrong? The social worker. Denise Marsh. Where is she right now? At her apartment, I assume. Why? Get someone there now. And find out if she has any relation to a Dr. Elena Marsh. Whose? Just do it. 10 minutes later, Marco called back. His voice was tight. Denise Marsh is gone. Apartment's empty. Looks like she cleared out in a hurry. And the connection? Elena Marsh is her mother. Retired doctor. Worked at the same hospital as Marielle. He paused. Elias, according to records, Elena Marsh died 5 years ago. Died or disappeared? Silence. Then, I'll make some calls. I hung up and looked at Clara. We need to take the kids somewhere safe. Right now. Where? If Morrison had people everywhere, maybe this woman does too. Then we go somewhere off the grid. Somewhere nobody knows about. I thought of my brother's old hunting cabin in Montana. He'd left it to me when he passed. No electricity. No phone lines. Just woods and silence. Pack bags, I said. We leave tonight. Clara ran upstairs. I went to check the doors and windows. That's when I saw it. Through the kitchen window. A figure standing at the edge of my yard. Just standing there in the shadows. Watching. I grabbed a flashlight and went outside. Hey, who are you? The figure didn't move. I got closer. Close enough to see it was a woman. Tall. Dark hair going gray. Professional clothes. Dr. Marsh? I said. She smiled. Hello, Elias. I've been waiting to meet you properly. Stay back. I pulled out my phone. I'm calling the police. Go ahead. They can't help you. She took a step forward. Patricia Morrison was useful. Greedy enough to do the dirty work, arrogant enough to take all the blame. But she was never the architect. Just the executor. Why? Why Marielle? Why Clara? Why any of this? Because your wife was going to expose a system that's been in place for 30 years. A system that provides medications to people who need them, for a price. Elena's eyes glittered. We save lives, Elias. More lives than your wife ever could have. You're insane. Am I? How many people die every year because they can't afford medication? We redistribute. We balance the scales. She tilted her head. Your wife would have destroyed that. So I removed her. Rage filled me. You murdered her. I did what was necessary. Elena pulled something from her pocket. A syringe. Just like I'm doing now. I backed away. Clara. Run. Elena moved faster than I expected. Grabbed my arm. I felt the needle pierce my skin. Then Marco's truck screeched into the driveway. Headlights blazing. Elena let go and ran. Disappeared into the darkness between houses. Marco jumped out. You okay? She injected me with something. My arm was already going numb. Get Clara and the kids out of here. Not without you. He caught me as my legs gave out. What did she give you? I don't. The world tilted. Take care of them. Promise me. Elias, stay with me. Everything went black. If you want me to pull every string in the book, type fight in the comments. I'll read them all. I woke up in a hospital bed. Again. The irony wasn't lost on me. Clara's face swam into focus above me. Dad? Can you hear me? Yeah. My voice was rough. What happened? Elena Marsh injected you with a sedative. Marco got you to the ER in time. She gripped my hand. The doctor said 10 more minutes and she couldn't finish. The kids? Safe. FBI has them in protective custody. Clara's eyes were red. And they caught her. Elena Marsh. She tried to leave the country but they picked her up at the airport. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. It's really over? Not yet. Agent Reeves appeared in the doorway. But it will be. Elena Marsh is cooperating. Giving us names. Locations. She's been running this operation for 3 decades. Morrison was just one piece. There are others. How many others? Dozens. Spread across 5 states. All using hospital supply chains as cover. Reeves sat down. But thanks to you we're rolling them all up. Every single one. What about Denise? The social worker? She was Elena's daughter. Planted to keep tabs on your family. She's in custody too. Reeves folded her hands. I know this is hard to process. But you did something extraordinary, Mr. Monroe. You exposed a criminal enterprise that's been operating for longer than most people's careers. I just wanted to protect my family. And you did. Clara's alive. Your grandchildren are safe. And justice, real justice, is finally being served. After Reeves left, Clara and I sat in silence for a while. Finally, she said, Mom would be proud of you. She'd be proud of you too. You're stronger than I ever gave you credit for. I learned from the best. She smiled through tears. What happens now? Now. I thought about it. Now we heal. We rebuild. We give those kids a life where they don't have to look over their shoulders. And Morrison? Elena? All of them? They face everything they've done. Every life they destroyed. Every family they tore apart. I squeezed her hand. The envelope gave us a chance. We made sure we didn't waste it. 3 months later, I stood in a cemetery with Clara and the kids. Marielle's grave was covered in fresh flowers. We'd had a new stone made. One that told the truth about how she died. Not heart failure. Not natural causes. Marielle Rose Monroe. Beloved wife and mother. Silence for seeking truth. Justice finally served. Asterisk asterisk. Rosie placed a drawing on the grave. She'd drawn our whole family, including Marielle, even though she'd never met her grandmother. Is Grandma watching us? She asked. Yes, sweetheart. She is. Is she happy we won? I think she's happy we're safe. That we're together. I picked her up. That's what matters most. That night, back at my house, I took out the envelope. The one that started everything. It was worn now. Creased. But every document inside had served its purpose. I thought about burning it. About putting this whole nightmare behind us once and for all. But then I thought about the surgeon who'd given it to me. About the courage it took to hand over evidence that could have gotten him killed. About all the people who'd helped us along the way. So instead, I put it in a safe deposit box. Along with a letter explaining everything that happened. For someday. For when Rosie and Caleb are older and want to know the whole truth. Because the truth matters. Even when it hurts. Even when it costs everything. My phone buzzed. Marco. Turn on the news. I grabbed the remote. A reporter stood outside a federal courthouse. In a stunning development, the FBI has arrested 17 people in connection with a nationwide drug trafficking ring disguised as legitimate medical supply operations. Among those arrested are hospital administrators, pharmaceutical executives, and government officials. The investigation, which began with evidence provided by private citizens, has been called one of the most significant corruption cases in modern history. The screen showed mugshots. Patricia Morrison, Elena Marsh, Dr. Raymond Kemp, and faces I didn't recognize, people who'd been part of this machine for years. All of them going down. Justice, Marco said through the phone. Justice, I agreed. The final twist came a week later. I received a letter from the state attorney general. Inside was a check, restitution from assets seized from Morrison's operation. More money than I'd seen in my entire life. But more importantly, there was a note. Asterisk Mr. Monroe, your bravery in the face of overwhelming odds has helped dismantle a criminal enterprise responsible for countless deaths. While nothing can bring back those we've lost, please accept this as acknowledgement that your actions mattered. The system failed your wife, but you didn't fail her memory. Thank you for your service to justice. Asterisk. I stared at that note for a long time. Then I called Clara. What do you want to do with this money? I asked. What do you mean? It's restitution. For Marielle. For what they took from us. I looked at the check. We could use it for the kids. For college. For a new start. Clara was quiet for a moment. Then, or we could use it to help others. Start a foundation. For people trying to expose corruption. Give them resources. Protection. Support. I smiled. Your mother would love that. Yeah, she would. 3 months later, we held the first meeting of the Marielle Monroe Justice Foundation. Clara ran it. I helped. In every case we took on, every whistleblower who came to us scared and alone, we remembered why we started. Because sometimes ordinary people have to do extraordinary things. Because the truth matters. Because family is worth fighting for. And because somewhere in a cemetery on the edge of town, Marielle Monroe was finally resting in peace knowing her death hadn't been for nothing. The last envelope came on the anniversary of her death. No return address. Inside was a single card. It showed a photograph of Marielle laughing. One I'd never seen before. And on the back in handwriting I didn't recognize. She knew she was in danger. She knew they might kill her. But she documented everything anyway. The final evidence was hidden somewhere only you would look. Check her favorite place. Asterisk asterisk. My hand shook. Her favorite place. The old oak tree in our backyard where we used to sit and watch the stars. Where I'd scattered some of her ashes. I went outside. Dug at the base of that tree until my fingers hit something hard. A metal box. Seal. Buried for 15 years. Inside were files. Photographs. Recordings. Everything Marielle had gathered before they killed her. Evidence we'd never found. Evidence that pointed to even more people. Higher people. People still in power. I looked up at the stars and I swear I could hear her voice. Asterisk finish it, Elias. Finish what I started. Asterisk. And I knew this wasn't over. Not yet. But this time I wasn't alone. I had Clara. Marco. An entire foundation built to fight corruption. We'd finish it. Together. For Marielle. For justice. For every person who'd ever been silenced for speaking truth. The war wasn't over. But we'd won the first battle. And that was enough. If this story moved you, hit subscribe, share it with someone who needs to hear that justice can come from ordinary people, and drop justice in the comments. Thank you for sticking with me through this entire journey. The next chapter of our fight starts soon and I need you with me. Turn on notifications so you don't miss what comes next. Together we're stronger than any corruption, any threat, any enemy. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your words inspire others who might be fighting their own battles. This is just the beginning.